We're here at the National Safety Conference for the poultry industry with Ed Foulke, who is a former Assistant Secretary of Labor for Occupational Safety and Health and is now a partner with Fisher & Phillips, a national labor and employment law firm. Ed, you just gave a speech to the National Safety Conference. Where are we headed in our industry's dealings with OSHA, and how can the industry respond?
Well, I think it's quite clear that OSHA is going to be changing some in the Obama administration. I think there's going to be much more of an emphasis on inspections and enforcement tied in together. I think there's also going to be an emphasis on increased rulemaking, so there'll be more standards that will be applicable to all industries, including the poultry industry. And just a general, increased look from an enforcement area.
An official, OSHA official from the Directorate of Enforcement Programs this week said that the agency will be looking and focusing on low-rate employers in high-rate industries. What does that mean, in your opinion, and how can the industry respond to that?
Well, there's a general feeling, particularly among the unions and I think the Democrats in Congress, because they've actually held hearings on this issue, that they feel that employers across the board are underreporting injury, illnesses, and fatalities. I don't think that's the case. The statistics that I've seen when I was head of OSHA indicated that there was fairly reliable, the injury and illness reports that we were having, the information that we had on injuries, illnesses, and fatalities was fairly accurate at up to a 95% accuracy. So, but there's a general feeling among the unions, and they put out publications that also discuss this, that they say that employers are not reporting. So they're going to be looking at if you're in a high injury industry, that they're going to assume that the fact that you don't have high injury and illness rates, even though you may have spent hundreds of thousands, even maybe millions in your safety program and have the best safety program in the country, and as a result you've reduced injuries, illnesses, and fatalities, they're going to feel that because you're in this high injury industry and you're reporting low numbers, that somehow you're cooking the book, so to speak. So I think that's unfortunate, because there's a lot of companies out there, and I know the poultry industry in particular has made great strides in reducing their injuries and illnesses and fatalities over the years. I know there's been, and since I think 2000, they were at, I think the 12 was their injury and illness rate, and I think we're down to around 6, which is a tremendous reduction. So the fact that it's unfortunate, it sounds like OSHA is going to be penalizing employers who have actually tried to have really great safety records and really put an emphasis on safety and health, and now they're going to get penalized by more inspections.
Where will the inspection focus most likely fall?
Well, clearly, and I think you've already seen an increase, an uptick in the number of inspections. Secretary of Labor Solis has already indicated that they're putting a lot more money in increasing the number of inspectors. The 2010 budget proposes a $50 million increase in OSHA, which is almost a 10% increase in their budget, to add an additional 130 plus inspectors. The 2009 budget that was passed just recently added over 100 new inspectors. So I think you're going to see in the 4 years that of the Obama administration, the first 4 years, that the Congress will attempt to probably double the number of OSHA inspectors across the country. So you're going to see, like I say, more inspections and a more focused on standard rulemaking.
How can companies get ready?
Well, I think it's important. They need to, if you know that part of the focus is going to be on record keeping, that you need to ensure that you have really good records, that you are keeping your records, your injury and illness records, up to date, and that they're accurate. Because OSHA can utilize their egregious policy, where they can, instead of grouping violations together and having one penalty, which even if it was a willful would be a maximum of $70,000, if they use the egregious policy and say you have 10 entries that you didn't do properly, and they find that this to be willful and egregious, now the potential penalty could be $700,000. So you can see how quickly the numbers can kick up. So record keeping is the first thing they need to do. Secondly, I think every employer needs to, it doesn't matter if it's in the poultry industry or what, needs to have each of their facilities prepared for an OSHA inspection. It is amazing how many facilities and employers don't know their rights during an OSHA inspection, and they just let OSHA run over them during the inspection, and that can be devastating and can be quite costly from the standpoint of citations that they should never have gotten. So they need to be prepared and have their managers, whoever is responsible for safety health at the facility, that they know how to handle an OSHA inspection and are ready to prepare to do that. Thirdly, they need to try to implement an effective safety and health management system. And the reason why that's important is because one of the focuses is identifying all the hazards that are out there and eliminating them the best way. And if we can do that, what that means is that the injury and illness and fatalities are going to go down. They're going to, which is going to mean that your workers' comp rates are going to go down, which means the company is going to be more profitable, more competitive. And if we're reducing injuries, illnesses, and fatalities, we're also protecting the company's brand name. Because when you have a fatality, or if you have a catastrophic accident, or just a even serious injury, that can impact on the company's brand name, and particularly in the service industry and the retail industry, that's very important. So safety and health can allow companies to be more profitable, more competitive. Safety and health can be a profit center for a company, and at the same time, it can help protect the brand, the company's brand name, and finally, it lets people go, and this is really the bottom line. It lets people go home safe and sound to their families and loved ones each and every night, and you can't put a price tag on that. So there's so many positive things. It's clear that the safety and health can be a profit center for every company in the United States, and the companies that have great safety programs, they already recognize that.
Well, in this new environment, many companies will be looking more and more to their safety departments to give them this competitive advantage then.
Most definitely. I mean, and the other thing that's coming down the pike, you're going to see there's a teenage obesity and overweightness is a serious problem in the United States. Well, this is the incoming workforce, and these persons that come into the workforce are going to have pre-existing illnesses, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, other heart-related diseases. And as a result, that's going to push the employers' workers' or healthcare costs up. At the same time, these employees, because of their physical condition, are going to get injured quicker, more frequently, and their recovery time is going to be longer, which is going to increase dramatically their health care cost. Well, safety and health is the only area that can really deal with this thing, and particularly dealing with a wellness program. This is what the companies are going to have to deal with in the future, and if they don't develop these programs, if they don't, if safety and health isn't really tasked with dealing with this issue up front early on, and implementing a significant and comprehensive wellness program, then those companies are not going to be able to be competitive and profitable in the future. And so that's why safety and health really is an important area for that. And once again, it all comes down to if you have a great safety program and you're dealing with all these things, your employees are going to feel like they really care about, and that's going to give you a cultural change where they may not, that you might be able to reduce turnover. At the same time, you're reducing injuries, illnesses, fatalities, which in turn allows you to be profitable, more competitive in the global marketplace, and you're letting people go home each and every night to their families and loved ones.
Speaking of global competition, how does this play out in U.S. companies, poultry companies particularly, being competitive globally? How will this play out?
Well, you know, as these issues, these costs come into play more and more, you don't see that in foreign countries as much. I mean, they don't have the cost associated a lot of times with the workers' comp and the health care costs that the employers have to deal with. And so if you really look at it with respect to productivity, efficiency, and quality as a country, and in the poultry in particular, we've really squeezed everything out of the cost savings that we can make in those areas. So what is the question? What else areas out there left where we can reduce costs and remain profitable and competitive? And there's only one area. Well, actually two areas: healthcare cost and workers' comp cost, and that's where safety and health comes into play. And more particularly on a national level for companies in the United States versus international, where those costs are transferred away from businesses. The companies here have to address those costs, and so here you have the ability to reduce those costs and allow the companies to be profitable and competitive. And once again, like I said, if you're reducing major injuries, illnesses, and fatalities, you're protecting your brand at the same time.
Thank you, Mr. Foulke. We appreciate your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.